am I then considered a man-child? Just because I live with my parents because of financial reasons, because the economy is not good, and if I try to get a job, I would get screwed by the employer. Man-childs are basically children in the guise of an adult. The definition is really self-explanatory from the name. Man-child means a child who is a man, an immature man. What are some symptoms of a man-child? Let's talk about that before we dive deeper into the question whether living with your parents make you a man-child. Because that's the most obvious thing when it comes to man-child, is that when you think of the word man-child, you envision a man into his 40s living under his parents' basement. But first, let's talk about the symptoms and the reason people become man-childs before we talk about our original subject. These are some symptoms of the man-child. They usually are dependent on their mothers to take decisions for them because they are not able to take decisions on their own. Maybe they are afraid of the consequences, or they are not used to taking the lead and making mistakes because they have been pampered all their lives. I'll talk about that later. The second symptom is they're emotionally dependent on others, especially their mothers. They cannot bear to be alone. There has to be someone who they can rely on to be happy. And they are attached to their mother so much that they cannot bear to think that separation could be possible for them. Let's talk about what makes a man-child. I'll talk about the main thing that turns someone into a man-child. That's basically when their father is missing, either physically or emotionally. And this is a problem because many children born into a family where they are raised by a single mother gets really attached to her because she's the one who plays the part of the father and the mother. She has to take care of him from his childhood well into adulthood. And the absence of a father, whether physically or emotionally, because it happens that sometimes the father is present, but emotionally he is not. He doesn't care about his family, he doesn't spend time, and it's as good as him being absent. In that case, the child, and usually a boy, will learn things from his mother, but the mother's knowledge is limited to a feminine perspective. And because of that, the boy will become emasculated. That's the whole thing about man-childs, is that they are missing that part of that masculine perspective because they have not spent time with their fathers. They don't know how to face obstacles. They are not able to take decisions. They're not able to support themselves in the times of difficulty as any man would. But because the father is missing, they are not able to learn those things from him. And here's something else. The mother, because she has not someone to rely on, a husband, will usually get attached to the son and sort of play the part of the husband, at least not in the literal sense, but emotionally she depends on the son because she has no husband, or the husband is emotionally missing, as I said. He doesn't give a fuck about her. So in that case, she will clasp on to the son and not let him explore the world, not let him make mistakes and sort of grow up, because she is afraid that he too would someday run away and leave her alone. And because she has invested a lot of time on nurturing this child, she feels obligated to take decisions for him so that he doesn't hurt himself. And that's the problem. When mothers don't let their child make mistakes and to get hurt, that's when they become man-childs. But let's return to the original subject of whether living with your parents make you a man-child, because this is one of the biggest things, as I said, when it comes to the man-child. The first thing that people say about man-child is that they live with their parents. Does living with your parents make you a man-child? In Western culture, when people turn 18, they move out. They go their own separate ways from their parents. And they try to be self-sufficient. They try to face difficulties. They try to own up to their own decisions and mistakes. They become responsible for their own lives. And this type of separation helps to make the man whole, helps to teach those skills which people learn from their fathers, because they have no choice. Even if they don't have any fathers, they will have to learn those things. But if the father is absent, chances are the mother will not let her son to do those things because she's afraid that he might, as I said, leave her. So the Western perspective is that when you are living with your parents well into your adulthood, when you're 30 or 40, or even in your 20s, then you're a man-child. But is it really the truth? People in other cultures, especially the Asian and Middle Eastern cultures, it's the other way around. If you move out when you're 18 or 20, you'll be considered a spoiled and rebellious kid. you'd be thought of having escaped from responsibilities because you were expected to live with your parents, to take care of them when they're old, because they have sacrificed their whole lives so that you could live and have a bright future. And if you are not taking care of them, that means that you're a villain, you're a cretin, if you like. And it has been like this for centuries. People have been living with their parents for most of their lives, even if they have grandchildren. I've seen that happen because it's the way it is here. I watched a video about ManChild in which Jordan Peterson talked about this, and he keeps talking about this subject and never forgets to point out that people who are ManChild usually are afraid of going out into the world, afraid of having to stand on their own feet. And this usually comes with the idea that you have to have good houses, you have to be married, you have to have a good car so that you could be considered self-sufficient and standing on your own feet. If you don't have a job and living with your parents, then you're fucked, you're a man-child. That's basically what these notions convey.
Especially among the male population of the Western world. Many young men are struggling academically, socially, spiritually, financially, and sexually. They are living at home into their late 20s and 30s, choosing to remain in the comforting confines of their parents' care rather than testing the unknown waters of independence. Instead of striving to create something of themselves, many prefer the familiar and comfortable virtual worlds of internet, pornography, and video games. They are passive wanderers in life with no path or purpose.
But say I'm a 30-year-old and I live with my parents, not because I don't fucking have enough emotional stability and I'm not mentally strong enough to live on my own, but because financially, if I try to go out and get a job and try to earn money to rent an apartment or buy a house, it would take me forever. And because of that, I might lose a lot of chances to fucking live life. So I decide to live with my parents. That would allow me to work less and spend time on things which would truly, in the future, bring fulfillment. Am I then considered a man-child? Just because I live with my parents because of financial reasons, because the economy is not good, and if I try to get a job, I would get screwed by the employer, and I'll be slaving for someone else just because I could get a car and a proper living standards so that society could say, this is not a man-child, this is someone who is self-sufficient. Should I do that or instead live with my parents? So we have two choices. Either we get ourselves into a toxic work environment so that we could call ourselves a proper man of society by working extra hours or working in a job we hate and then going into debt, or we can stay at our parents' house because of financial reasons, because it would allow us to work on that project, because it would give us a lot of free time so that we could finally, through some other career paths, become truly self-sufficient.